Welcome back to the Art Inside the Craft podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Glazier, and this is episode number 25. Today's episode is with multi-instrumentalist Canadian singer-songwriter Benjamin Dakota Rogers. Benjamin has been absolutely tearing up social media by posting various versions of his songs online and grabbing the attention of everyone that comes across him. He's a wonderful singer-songwriter that not only has a tremendous voice, but uses both of his songwriting and singing skills to create characters and storylines that draw you into the world he's creating. In this interview, we talk about how he got started playing music, his barn studio, which you see in a lot of his videos, and how TikTok has helped open up some great opportunities for him. Let's listen in on that interview with Benjamin Dakota Rogers. I like to tell them where I found them. So obviously, I found your stuff on TikTok, surprisingly. Yeah. Which is kind of the incredible thing now, I guess, about social media and the way that platform kind of works. But but your playing and your singing really blew me away, and I was like, dang, I gotta call this guy and get a hold of him. So tell me just, I guess, a little bit kind of about like where you're from, and then musically, when did you start like instruments or singing? When did you start getting into music?
Yeah, so I live on like a little farm up in Canada. Actually, I feel like most people don't think I'm from Canada. But I live on a little farm up in Canada. We build greenhouses, and so I've worked construction since I was little and done all that. But I started playing fiddle. My great grandfather was a fiddle player, like an old time country kind of fiddle player. And when he died, I inherited his fiddle, and so I started taking. I took lessons and did that for like 18 years.
Wow.
And so that was like kind of my plan. I was gonna go to school for violin and be like a country fiddle player. And then I started writing songs. I guess I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. And that just kind of. I ended up falling in love with that and just kind of stuck with that. And then I play banjo and mandolin and all that stuff too. Just kind of picked that up along the way. But that's why I play tenor guitar. I think probably the video you found was the video of the John Came Home song, and I'm playing a tenor guitar.
Yeah, and that's right.
It's because I tune it like my fiddle most of the time. And so it's a pretty easy transition from being a fiddle player to a tenor guitar.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's a very cool way to come about playing guitar. Mm-hmm. So then did you like get in any, like, do you have a band that you kind of tour around with or do stuff with, or did you just kind of always do stuff on your own?
Yeah, so I have. It really depends. It really depends how much we're making at shows. When I have my choice, I almost always travel with an upright bass player. And then other than that, like depending on the gig, I'll just keep hiring people until we run out of money, and put together a big band. So I have, when the gigs are good, I have a nice big band with me. Wow. And we do the whole thing. But I play lots of shows solo. But I'd say 75% of my shows I at least have my upright bass player with me. He sings harmonies and he can double on guitar if I need him to. And
fantastic.
So we can do that.
Yeah. Did you, what kind of stuff did you, I'm going to guess you got a lot of influence from your grandfather, but what other kind of stuff were you listening to, like when you were starting to learn to play? Was it kind of all over the place, or were you really kind of steeped in that Americana type old-timey music?
I kind of bounced back and forth. I listened to a lot of, it was mostly Americana and like roots, and like old country stuff. Mm-hmm. But I also, there was a short period while I was playing fiddle where I got really into like Celtic music.
Oh, no kidding.
And a lot of those riffs, just because it's just kind of, I feel like you just kind of end up down that path when you're learning a bunch of fiddle tunes.
Sure.
So I went down a little run of that, but for the most part, it's all been rootsy Americana stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of funny when I talk to musicians that'll be like, in this genre of music, and I'll say, well, what kind of stuff are you listening to? And they're like, just it's kind of off the wall, like, oh, I was super into like death metal. So
Yeah, right.
it, eventually music and your influences, it all creeps in there somehow, but it's kind of funny just to ask and kind of get an idea of where you come from.
Yeah, yeah.
So you do a lot of playing out around your area then, or is there a good club scene for you to be able to get out and play?
There's not where I live. Like I live kind of there's not much around me as far as gigs go, but I try to do a couple tours a year. Like we'll head out west usually once a year or twice a year, and then we usually head down along like the east coast of the U.S. and up and then up around kind of the Midwest. We'll do that kind of circuit. We try to do it once a year. And those are kind of the main bulk of the shows that I'll play. I usually only really play like one or two shows locally a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like I said, like I live out on a farm. There's not really much around me as far as venues go, and I'll kind of play the two main ones once a year, and that's about it.
Wow. And I saw on the website you have I think you have is it 4 full albums and then just a ton of singles that you put out?
Yeah, kind of. So I started putting out music like pretty young. So I'm 25, and I put out 3 records before I turned 20.
Wow.
Which was a terrible idea, because they were pretty dreadful, and I didn't know what I was doing yet. So technically, yeah, there's a ton of records out there, but there's Better by Now, which I recorded with Dan Hosh. I'm proud of that one. And then there was one, just a little EP that I made here at the farm. I live in the loft of one of the barns on the property. And so I have my little studio up there, and I record everything up there now. But I recorded this little EP called Goodnight.
Yes.
And those are the two things that I think are that I'm proud of that are out there right now. And then like I record all my singles up in the barn, and I just finished John Came Home the other day, so it'll be out April 1st. And
beautiful.
yeah, that was a crazy rush. It's so funny. That song was a complete throwaway song for me.
Really? Wow, that's a great song.
Yeah, it was super weird. I wrote it it wasn't even finished. I wrote the first half of it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But like I was like, I don't know. And so I posted it to TikTok, and then it went nuts. And so I was like, well, I guess I got to finish it. So I called my band down, and we recorded it in a day, and I mixed it up and sent it out.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was super crazy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That platform, it's so crazy how helpful it really is to like independent artists and people that are trying to get their music out there, because man, I have found so many fascinating players on there so far. So
there's so much great stuff.
And well, the other thing I wanted to ask you was about Lazy Old Moon. Is that your label, or what's that?
It's like this. It's this like weird. It's essentially like it's a project that I'm slowly working on. It's a record label, but it's not really acting as a record label right now. So that's up in one of the barns, and it started as me and one of my best friends from high school. I was like, I want a way to be able to make cheap music videos all the time for myself, so that I can put my stuff out there without paying a ton of money for music videos.
Wow. And
my buddy had gone to school for film. And so he would come out and shoot music videos for next to nothing. That's how I learned how to record and mix and do all that stuff, was because I was just trying to get my music out there without paying a ton of money. And but then like I guess as we both got better, other people started to want to do videos. So I started doing videos for other people, and so we gave it a name, and now I have a ton of videos backlogged, but I haven't released, just because of the whole pandemic thing. It was making touring difficult, and it wasn't helping anybody to release a bunch of music, and then they couldn't tour it.
Right.
So it is a label, although it's not really acting as a label. It will someday in the future. But it's my recording studio and my video studio, and it's a bunch of stuff kind of put together under one umbrella.
Very cool.
It's been a fun project.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I just watched through, like, I think there's 3 videos out there. And I was just watching through all of them, and man, they're just all 3 are fantastic, really incredible. Are those all just friends of yours that are around that area?
Yeah, well, like decently around the area, like within like 6 or 7 hours distance. I think Zach Lucky. I'm not sure. I think he lives 5 hours from me, but yeah, within like a decent distance. But yeah, that's the other thing is I feel like Canada's like Americana scene is super spread out. And so that's part of the whole thing with the Lazy Old Moon is to try to suck a bunch of us that are kind of doing something similar together into a slightly more tightly knit community.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It's super fun.
Huh. And then I saw also on your website, the other thing I wanted to ask you about is it says you're a 4-time international songwriting competition winner. So what's the story behind that?
It's called IFC. I think it's based out of California.
Oh, okay.
But I could be very wrong. They get like, I don't know, they get like 30,000 submissions, and you can send your song in, and they have all these judges, and you send your stuff in, and they listen to the songs and make decisions. I've always my thing with all these competitions is I've submitted to everything because you never know what's going to happen.
Right, exactly.
And it was always just So it won. I think I won. It was for like a fiddle piece that I wrote, and then the rest were for songs. I can't even remember which songs now. I think Mercy might have won, and so it's one of those things where it's like I always submit because you never know what's going to happen. And competitions don't really, I don't know, I feel like they don't really mean anything, but it's just something to throw up there and show people when you're trying to book gigs and all that stuff.
And it's another cool way for you to get your music out there and have it heard by a much wider audience, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I always kind of feel that's the struggle as an artist now is, you know, back in the days you used to sign to a label and they would do pretty much everything, including take all your money. but at least they'd get your name out there and you'd be on the radio and stuff. And now it's just, I mean, you're kind of on your own doing everything until you get a huge following, and then they might start trying to court you and get you signed up. But it's so different. So that's why I love talking to guys like you. You know, I love trying to help spread the word when good music's out there. Yeah,
I really appreciate it. I was looking forward to doing this.
Yeah,
it's been so crazy since the TikTok thing. There's been a bunch of cool little opportunities that have come up from it, and gotten to talk to people and do all that stuff. It's been nice. I've been playing gigs and kind of doing the same thing for 8 years. So it's cool all of a sudden getting to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so everything that you put out now, you're not like on a label at all. It's just all your stuff. You're doing everything yourself, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been great. I guess last year I finished up my little studio in the barn, and I record everything myself and mix it myself. And I've got a buddy in Philly who masters everything for me. And I've got another buddy who lives down the road that does all my graphic design. And then I get it out there.
That's fantastic.
It's nice. It feels I can do things really quickly that way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
right? Like with this song, like we were able to get it recorded and mixed up in like 4 days from when it went viral. So
Wow.
I wouldn't, that just wouldn't be a thing in any other kind of situation.
Yeah. So I guess kind of like going forward, are you going to be working on putting out like a full album and working on like a little bit larger tour, or what's your future plans coming up?
So they're kind of changing a lot right now. Like a bunch of kind of cool stuff is happening because of TikTok. I had actually already finished a full length record. I recorded it in December. That's going to come out in the fall. And so I've been just kind of puttering away on that throughout the winter and, getting that finished. I got a couple more little vocal takes to do and whatnot, but yeah, so there's like a 13 song record that's kind of sitting in my studio right now, waiting to come out. And then, I write, like, I guess my kind of the main thing that I do that takes up my time is lots of writing. And so I have that record, and then I wrote a whole record of tunes, like similar to like the John Came Home and Charlie Boy and that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
I wrote that over the summer, so there's that. And then, yeah, I have kind of 3 records in the works right now. One is finished being recorded, and the other 2 are written. And I'm just trying to decide how I want to record them and when I want to put them out. But so I'm going to start putting out singles probably May or June for this record I did in December, and probably start recording another record around the same time.
I want to send a tremendous thank you to Benjamin for the conversation. Since we recorded this interview, Benjamin has put out that 13-track album titled Painthorse, and I can't recommend it enough. It's available on all streaming services, and I hope with enough people purchasing the album, there will be enough support to help get him touring the US on a wider scale. Follow him on all social media and keep an eye out for his tour info and more music. I want to thank my sponsors, Ink19.com and Black Cat Bone Productions, for their continued support. You can now find all of my podcast episodes being uploaded to Ink19.com, as well as album reviews like the one that will be going up for Painthorse. Please subscribe if you want to stay up to date with episodes as they come out, and I will see you all down the road.